Greetings and welcome to GSL Super Tournament number 3, our last GSL tournament of the calendar year 2021. I am Artosis, joined by State filling in for Tasteless for this tournament. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Feeling excited to cast my first ever GSL.
This is your first GSL cast?
My first GSL cast. Yeah, we casted some StarCraft together before, a long time ago. But first ever GSL. And I remember 10 years ago as a young nerd growing up in Northern California, I tuned into GSL for the first time and it inspired me to become a pro gamer, and now we've come full circle.
I guess so. All right, we're going to hear a quick interview.
Hello, everyone. So, Kevin, this is the opening day of the Super Tournament. So, anything you want to say? So now we finally get to have our StarCraft 2 fans here at the venue as a live audience. I'm really grateful, really thankful. So there are many quarantine guidelines we need to follow, and we are following them very strictly. I mean, there are very complicated things that we need to go through, but in the end, I'm really happy to let everyone here in the venue. So this is the last GSL League of the year. And there's also Hero returning from the military service after 2 years. So let's watch the match together here at the venue, all together. And it is time to commence the last Super Tournament of the year. And Hero is definitely the handsomest pro gamer out there in the GSL right now. So Kevin, it's been quite a while since we last opened the opening day together. All right, let's shout it together, Kevin. We all waited for this moment. 2021 GSL Season 3 Super Tournament kicks off now.
Africa TV, Free Cup Studio, live. 2021 GSL Super Tournament Season 3.
All right. So very interesting. I mean, Kevin is technically my boss and the CEO of Africa TV, but is Hero handsomer than Zest? That's the big question.
That was exactly what mine jumped to as well. I'm not too sure about that, man.
Yeah, and they happen to be playing in the first round of this tournament. I know that I said in the last tournament that Zest would not be back, but the military hasn't actually taken him yet, so he's playing again.
That's good news for a lot of Protoss players in the world because,
is.
I mean, Zest is kind of the pioneer. I mean, even back when I was a StarCraft 2 pro gamer, I would look to Zest's games to kind of determine what it was that I wanted to do. So exciting we get a little bit more Zest. before he goes to the military service.
Yeah, he's on the short list of Protoss GOATs, you know. He's if he had won that last GSL, he would have been undisputably the strongest Protoss ever in GSL history. But yeah, here he is again in this tournament. We have a wonderful lineup here, a very exciting lineup. I'm so glad that Hero is back because it's been kind of annoying not having him around to win super tournaments. So Trap has kind of come in and won all the super tournaments.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of fun. By the way, guys, as Kevin mentioned, we do have tickets for sale, 60 seats per day. I know a lot of people have been asking, is GSL Super Tournament going to have an audience? The answer is yes. And if you just found out, it's too late for you to come down. But you can come down on another day. You have to have things like vaccinations, and you know, you get a QR code with that you can sign in with. You get your temperature taken, bring an ID, that type of thing. But it's $5 for a ticket. You can buy up to 2. Definitely come down and join us.
Yeah, it's exciting to have an audience again.
Yeah.
I mean, coronavirus has kind of been a bore for the last 2 years, to say the least.
Yeah.
It's been a downer.
It has been.
Exciting to have a little bit of a return to normalcy. And here we have the schedule. Of course, today we have 4 best-of-5 matches in the round of 16 day 1, 4 more on Thursday. Then we go on to the round of 8 on Monday the following week, and on Thursday the semifinals and grand finals. So a lot of StarCraft action coming your way.
Yeah, we're gonna rocket right through this. Not as quick as we used to, but we have some new maps added in here. Of course, 2000 Atmospheres and Blackburn returning, but we're also adding Berlingrad, Curious Minds, Glittering Ashes, Hardwire, and Pride of Altaris.
Yeah,
so it's going to be really fun to learn those new maps here this season.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of builds these players have cooked up for them, because this is these maps, their debut here in the GSL, and I mean, that's usually when you find those little spots like Siege Tank sitting mineral lines from third bases and things like that, so might see a little bit of quirky action. Always exciting.
Definitely that is a possibility. Now, we don't see Party in the lineup, so we probably won't have anything completely game-breaking.
Yeah.
But yeah. Here is a look at our bracket. Of course, that left-hand side we will be going through today, and then on Thursday, the right-hand side, including the Battle of the Handsomes in the 4th match. Does any match stick out to you in this first round?
So, first match, I gotta say, so being a Protoss player myself, you might think that I'm looking for Trap, but for me, it's gonna be Kira and ByuN, because last GSL, both these players came up through Code A. ByuN was knocked out in the group stages, and Kira won the whole thing. But notably, neither of them played a TVT in that tournament. And since that GSL, they have played 8 series against each other in a very short amount of time, and ByuN has won 5 of them. I think it's going to be pretty competitive.
All right. I know. I'm looking forward to that. Then I never think of ByuN as like a super strong TVT player, but if he's actually won 4 or 5 against Kira recently online, that definitely says something. Looking at the rest of the matches here for today, they do look one-sided. Dark First Creator has to be one-sided. Trap versus anybody except the best 3 players in the world has to be one-sided. And then Rogue, of course, versus anyone, right?
Yeah.
So those are some tough ones. We might see a little bit of dumpstering today.
Yeah, just a little bit. But I mean, best of 5s, a lot of things can happen.
Yeah, that is true.
Kira, of course, having a pretty nice stat sheet right there, coming off his first ever GSL win. Always a good feeling.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously that was a huge victory there over Zest. We didn't expect either of them to make it to the finals last season, but Kira really stepping up and taking that championship trophy. I think he put out a great season, and really happy for him because he had such a rough time since the last time he was in the finals.
Yeah, it's always nice when you have one of these longtime players finally have a breakout performance and maybe make it to the semifinals, maybe make it to the finals, but to win it, it's exciting.
Yeah, to have a new champion in GSL, like we don't get that mostly. We have like this Hall of Champions with all their pictures, and it's mostly like the same 6 guys everywhere on the wall.
Right.
You know, it's like ST and MVP and Maru and Rogue and Dark and like, TY. Yeah. It's these guys are greedy with their GSL victories.
Yeah, they're probably running out of space for those trophies on their wall too.
Yeah.
These are big ones.
Well, our first match, as you mentioned, it's going to be Kira against ByuN, Veto's Glittering Ashes and Blackburn. Kind of interesting to see Blackburn veto there from ByuN.
Yeah.
Being a more aggressive micro-based player. I thought he might enjoy having a stranger map like that, but we'll see how that ends up playing out. And, you know, if you hadn't told me specifically that ByuN has been on a wrecking streak against Kira lately, I would, like, heavily bet on Kira here.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I mean, coming into it, before I looked at the stat sheet for the past couple of matches, I was just leaning towards Cure. I mean, he's a really solid, like his CBT, it's a lot more macro-based, and ByuN, as we all know, is one of the best controlling players in the world. His micro is unbelievable. Anyway, with that, we're going to be going into match number 1 here of Super Tournament number 3.
Game starts.
Oh boy.
All right. This is the way to start any tournament here.
I believe that is ByuN in the red, right? It's got to be.
I think so. Eventually we'll have this. Yeah, there it is. ByuN.
Yeah.
All right.
If anyone's going to do it.
Not surprised to see. I mean, he is aggressive, even in Terran versus Terran, sometimes to his own detriment, in fact.
Right.
But up he comes, and going to throw down a proxy barracks, no doubt, right?
Is this going to be the natural expansion? Wow, it really seems like it. And feels like that SCV got him across the map pretty quick, too. One of the shorter rush distance here on Pride of Eltaris. So those barracks are going around right at the same time.
Yeah, it is a gas first opening here from Cure. We'll see what he wants to actually go with for his opener. He's going to go directly into that Reaper.
Right.
But what is the follow-up here from ByuN? Because obviously he's going to put on the pressure with that single barracks, but it's only a single barracks. This is not something that you're thinking is going to kill your opponent.
Yeah, and I am curious if he's going to go for the Reaper himself, because, I mean, Reaper versus Reaper, like, there's not too much micro finesse you can do there if it's a one-on-one fight. I mean, both the units, they're really quick. They're just going to trade shots, so maybe he'll go into Marauder or something like that. And
yeah,
there's the Tech Lab going down.
Well, when it is Marauder, if it does not get scouted, I mean, it can snowball a little bit. Generally, we don't see people die immediately to a one barracks proxy Marauder rush, but
yeah.
We'll see what he can actually pull off here. He does have that amazing micro, as you mentioned. Concussive shells on the way, first Marauder being made. Of course, the Reaper here for Cure as expected.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. It might scout it right away.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be right on the cusp. I'm not sure with the way it's rallied right now if it actually will clip that with its vision.
Yeah, and sometimes he might actually not even check, too.
It barely misses it.
Oh, boy.
It barely misses it.
Dude, the amount of Heartbreaker scouts that we have, look at that. Like, the edge, he just has that placed completely perfectly.
Yeah.
The planning here of ByuN, very, very good. Look, he comes back to it. You know how sure he is that he's fine?
Oh, the SCV. The SCV's going to spot it.
Oh, and immediately, of course, walking forward, you gotta go the second you see it. Second Reaper's gonna be out, though. He's bringing SCVs. I don't think he's gonna take much damage from this, honestly.
Yeah, 2 Marauders, they don't do bonus damage against Reapers or SCVs, so really just relying on that concussive ability to micro against these units. But 1 Marauder always down to already down to 50% HP. 2 SCVs going down, but I'm not sure that's worth it just yet. That bunker's gonna finish.
Yeah, and I mean, ByuN does have a slight edge there. But with the Marine popping out with the bunker finishing, that's pretty much the end of the rush. Like, it doesn't do much else from here.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how ByuN transitions here. I mean, 4 SCVs is a little bit more than I might have expected coming into that, given that the SCV scout did come off. And 4 SCVs this early in the game is pretty significant. I mean, that's about, what, 15% of the mining going on right now. So that barracks can probably fly right on her way home, or it's actually going to use it to get vision, but that Widow Mine is...
I love the Widow Mine sitting there, too, because you know it's there.
Oh, this hurts, too.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, the Hellion's going to be able to push that Reaper away, but delaying the expansion does hurt a lot here for ByuN.
Yeah, and you know what? He's trying to get some damage here, but of course, as the Cyclone pops out, this will be cleared up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to actually end up killing off the depot here. Cure not really putting in too much effort to stop that. Barrick's going to float up and see what it can see. That second command center almost finished.
Yeah. And this is, surprisingly, ByuN lost 3 SCVs there. I think, I'm not sure where the
one
other 2
that was
went
up
down.
at the front, and then the one that was building the CC, and then I'm not sure where the other one was.
Oh, man, and this one, too. Yikes. That's a good start here for Cure.
Yeah. I mean, he's sacrificing the Reapers, but I kind of like that to just kind of slow this down and make sure that he's catching up. Because, yeah, you're giving a couple of Reapers, but look at this. The SCV count is now even. He's going to have his orbital up first. Of course, he has to float it down, so he's going to lose some production time there.
Right.
But not too bad. I like it.
And is ByuN actually going back into Marauders at home, too? I think...
Oh, I think those are just the ones that he...
he put them back.
He just saved them.
Gotcha. Kind of an interesting unit composition to have this early in the game. I mean, typically it's just the Reaper Hellion and the Siege Tanks and Marines, but ByuN's got a little bit of a quirky setup to micro, and I mean, of all the players in TVT, he is the one that prefers quirky sets of units the most.
That is for sure. Actually, yeah, seeing the Marauders with the army right now, they kind of remind me of the Cyclone, where you're like, this is a funny unit in the early game, right? Like, it definitely has some power, but not as much finesse. It's like a yes-no question as to whether or not your opponent's going to stop that.
Yeah. Wonder if that the Raven's going to get any damage in the main base with ByuN. Playing a little bit safer, not going up in there. Probably afraid of a Cyclone locking on or something to that effect.
Yeah, he saw the depot there, so it's a little bit hard, I think, to dive in, because if the Cyclone is sitting back waiting for him, it's quite the bait, right? It's not something you want to lose a Raven over this early on.
And right now, I mean, both players just kind of macroing up. There's not too much of a worker discrepancy anymore, but Kira, of course, has all that added production time of, well, not losing that barracks in the early game. So, interested to see how things play out. I mean, ByuN now with 2 Ravens. Kira going up to his second as well, or is that his first?
Yeah, it's kind of funny how this is normalizing quite a bit. Like, both sides are getting 3rd CCs. We're both just sitting here kind of making our Ravens, right? Yeah. Now, Kira coming out to try to take some control of the center here. Just kind of sitting behind, of course, does have to back up as the full-sized army moves out.
Yeah, and that's a pretty scary army this stage of the game. I mean, the Marine count for Kira is a lot higher than ByuN. No stem just yet, but...
With 3 Ravens and 2 Siege Tanks, I don't think you can actually do anything here.
Yeah, that's tough to break. I do wonder if Kira's going to be making some kind of play to delay the 3rd base of ByuN. I mean, that's the only real objective I can see with this army right now in the front of his base.
Yeah, and I think also just like you're checking to make sure that your opponent is playing honest, right?
Right.
Like just by walking around like this, you can kind of tell if they're like doing what they're supposed to do and not being ridiculous.
Right. And seeing that clump of units from ByuN too, like he knows that there's not a medevac on the map full of 8 Marines or something to that effect, you know. So good way of keeping tabs, but Scan's going to come in. Kira pushing up a little bit on this ramp, trying to find a nice little sweet spot with those siege tanks.
Oh my god, the auto turret's coming down as he tries to set up. Kira going absolutely crazy. The siege is a little bit late here, though, for ByuN.
Oh, but 4 siege tanks are just doing work right now, and I feel like that's a little bit of an overcommitment there for Kira.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to go for that contain, but that was not the fight that he wanted to take, and suddenly this kind of swings back.
I don't understand the move, right? If you have less siege tanks and less Ravens, and then you attack into more siege tanks and more Ravens,
right?
The alligator eats the bigger number. Wait, no, that's not it. But you get my point. Something like that. I'm not a math major, okay? But like, Ravens are good.
Yeah, Ravens and siege tanks are very good. I mean, even with the late siege, he was able to clean that up really easily. And now he's just going to push this advantage, and Kira's suddenly in a really dicey spot after a pretty fantastic early game defense.
Oh, a little bit sloppy moving up with his siege tanks. The SCV's going to come down. I think he's going to get cleared.
He's losing 3 siege tanks and not even getting Kira's 1 there. And both players just kind of fumbling a little bit in these early game engagements. I mean,
that feels what we just saw there was actually ByuN gave back Kira what he took from Kira. He's like, I killed your siege tanks and air units, now you kill mine. And so that was very nice, and we're kind of back into
back normalized.
Yeah, it's normalized a bit. Now he did get a decent amount of SCVs with that Kira had to pull, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, a 10-worker lead is pretty significant at this point in the game, but also losing these Vikings for ByuN is harsh. I mean, coming into the series, I was reviewing a lot of these guys' games against each other, and typically it is Kira that ends up with the mid-game air control. It's just kind of more of his passive style as opposed to ByuN's
for sure
microcentric kind of multitasking with the Marines, the siege tanks, and it seems like Kira's going to kind of play it the same way. He's got the superior Viking count. ByuN, though, really shelling that command center.
Dude, he needs to be careful about losing.
He needs to lift it.
What are we even doing here? Like that, I mean, that was under attack for the last minute.
Yeah,
and he lost
like
it. Oh, man.
Textbook MMA versus Hydra moment right there or something.
And now ByuN leaves the game. I'm like, what?
Yeah, a little bit of early game jitters, it seems, for both of these players. Maybe not quite in the groove starting out here because...
Well, to lose the command center, here's the funny thing. They can fly.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
like if it's under attack,
control.
you can lift it up.
He had air control.
Yeah.
Like Vikings aren't going to snipe it down.
There was like a red Viking on the ground. He had 2 in the air, so it's not like it's going to take any damage when it lifts. So
yeah.
that was like a pretty unforgivable mistake from Cure.
I saw the CC getting shelled, and I'm like, well, that doesn't really matter because he's going to lift it off.
Yeah, he'll either repair it enough to not die or lift it to not die. The only way for it to die is to just sit there. So that was kind of a bad moment there for Cure, to say the least.
Yeah, that's one of those unforced errors that just really, really hurts. And I mean, ByuN now not only with a 20 worker lead, but those are 20 workers that are fully saturated. I mean, Cure now mining out 4 patches in his main, having a distance mine the third to get some kind of semblance of an economy with these SCVs, but that's not going to work. And kind of a desperation move coming off here with these medevacs.
Well, he's going to have to get something done with those medevacs, I think. And there's the possibility of it, right? We don't have that much map presence here for ByuN, so is he actually going to see this coming in? He has a patrolling unit, but actually he flies over to the side. I don't believe that saw it.
No, I don't think it did. But Cure really trying to pull every little trick he can right now, even queuing over that Widow Mine, hoping for a pop shot on the SCVs. But this might work for him. I mean, one turret's not going to do much with these.
Let's see. Like, he unloads behind the natural here, but that is a huge arc of Marines.
Lot of Marines. And these are ByuN Marines. These are not your Costco Marines. They're going to do a lot of damage. And Cure's just going to get cleaned up right here. I mean, kind of a desperation move. He's going to tap out.
Those are not Costco Marines. What is it? What do you call it when like something's like really nice handmade?
Nice and like an heirloom product.
Okay, yeah. We got some heirloom Marines going on. We have.
I mean, ByuN Marines, they tend to do more. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, it's that he micros them so much. Yeah.
Yeah, but like Marines are Marines. Like you're gonna like stutter them into each other, but somehow they just always seem to come up on top.
Yeah,
and I mean,
innovation. He gets his Marines at Costco for sure, right? Like he buys in bulk and sends them in.
He's a Kirkland territory.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of a sloppy game for both players right there. And I mean, I can't really fault Cure going for that all or nothing move right there with the medevacs.
Oh yeah, no, I
think
think
he's so far behind. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, the first attack, 2 Ravens and less siege tanks into 3 Ravens and more siege tanks.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not winning that. I don't even know what he's trying to do there. But then to also lose the command center, it's like, okay, let's erase that from our brains. Let's go into Curious Minds for set 2 and play a better game for Cure.
Yep. Here we go, going into game 2 now. ByuN leading 1-0.
Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Cure. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
No proxies this game.
No? Nothing too aggro to start.
Honestly, I think if you're Cure and you play that game, he knows he made those mistakes the same way that we did.
Yeah.
And I don't let that game get in my head too much. I mean, like, those are the ones on ladder. Like, if you were to play this game on ladder, you'd be like, oh, well, I messed up. That's probably not going to happen again.
Yeah.
Reset, going to the next one. Best of 5, not too painful.
Yeah, I think he can get out of his head. Like, he actually even smiled as we went into the game. You got to know he looks at that and he's like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
I just won GSL and I mean, these are if you see that attack, you definitely don't think like GSL champion, right? That first attack. And then when you see the command center blow up, you're like, all right, I mean, this does happen in Gold League. Like, where people forget that the command center flies. Gold League and also Maru versus Scarlet. You know, like, matches like that. But yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know. It's
oftentimes, at least in my experience as a pro gamer, when things start to go wrong, there tends to be like a cascade of failure that follows this. Because a lot of times, as a professional player of these guys' level, they're not thinking too much when they're playing these games. Everything is almost rote. It's instinct. But when things start going wrong, you're off your game. And then suddenly you're thinking a lot. And thinking is a lot of multitasking, so he has a lot going through his head in that kind of situation that leads to mistakes like not lifting up your command center.
It's actually a very good point that you bring up that I think a lot of people don't realize, that when you get to this level, so much is automatic, and it has to be because you have to move so quickly and react to everything so quickly, and you've done all of this so many times.
Yeah.
And you're definitely right. If you start thinking too much, that's where you can really catch yourself and start screwing things up, and all your timings go off because your brain is actually not doing what it's supposed to.
Yeah, in my experience, as a general rule of thumb, the more that you're thinking in a match, probably the worse off that you're doing at this level.
Yeah.
You really, like, it should be instinct.
I feel like I should be making a Protoss joke, but no, you're right. For those of you who don't know, Stave's an old Protoss pro gamer, but...
Yeah. But again, kind of going back to the attack that Cure did there, I remember watching a lot of ByuN's games against Cure in previous GSLs, where ByuN would be the player that, like, even if it's 2-base versus 2-base and you're building the same units, if the matchups are mirrored, ByuN will still move across the map. And he will still try to set up soft contains. Cure's not really kind of the player to do that, generally speaking. So I'm wondering if maybe the proxy threw him off in that, his defense was good, and he does have an advantage, but maybe he's kind of going off his game plan, and instead of taking that advantage and just rolling with it in a macro sense, it's like, I could probably push this in a way where I can shut you down and taking your third base the same way that you shut me down.
Well, sometimes, sometimes if you get into these kind of stranger positions that you're not in as much and you're taking like an odd amount of damage and dealing an odd amount of damage back, it can actually be very hard to place exactly where you're at in relation to your opponent. So.
Yeah, that's true as well. That's a very good point.
This is, by the way, a lot of Reapers coming out of Cure. So very cool to see, as ByuN does as well. 5 versus 5. We do have that medevac coming out, so definitely looks like Cure is going to be the one to try to get aggressive here.
I wonder if this is something map-specific with all these Reapers and Hellions, because I know that TVT early game, I mean, this is kind of the composition that you go, is he?
Well, no, I mean,
he's
like,
making a lot of them,
3 Reapers and a couple of Hellions is like, okay, yeah, this is
but
this is pretty normal, but this is a lot.
This
7?
is nuts.
Very interesting to see.
I don't think I've seen this many Reapers and Hellions across the map.
Certainly not.
Match before.
No.
And
I mean, if I see this many Reapers, it's because it's 2 Barracks Reaper, you know?
Yeah, this is crazy. Oh, and he's going to go straight to the main base. These Marines are caught completely off guard. What a brilliant play here. Cyclone's going to lock onto the medevac. That's a smart move.
Oh, yeah, I really do like that. And the auto turret coming down as well. Moves in and starts trying to put the damage down. 5 SCVs dying already. Let's see how much damage he can actually end up getting.
15.
Oh,
and there's another Hellion in the natural.
Love to see that Hellion in the natural as well. Fantastic. 18 SCVs end up falling. Now, obviously, his army is going to be a lot smaller, but if you look at this weird ragtag force that ByuN has, it's going to be hard to go across the map and actually do damage with that.
Yeah, this is an army that has superior mobility. It's great for getting map control. It's not really good for killing your opponent unless you do something kind of absurd, which Cure did there. He just pulled a trick out of his hat and dropped that off all in the main base, and he halved ByuN's worker count.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That
like
is
40
insane.
to 25, you are in some serious trouble as long as Cure holds on.
Yeah.
Like, I would not, like the way he just went down that ramp, I would not suggest that. If he paused the game and asked me, should I move down my ramp right now, I'd say probably not. You probably need to sit very defensively here.
Yeah, the siege tank coming out just in time too. Auto turret's going to try and focus down the Raven, and then the siege tank. This fight, I mean, this is the disadvantage that comes with making all those trades early, as ByuN counters and does his own damage.
Okay, he hasn't killed that many SCVs yet. He did clear out the army there, but we'll have more. This is such a small army. Sometimes it can be hard to actually get the finish off, right? Like 1 siege tank, 3 Marines will not kill your opponent.
A lot of the value is locked in those Ravens as well, and like they put down the auto turrets and they're great while they're around, but then you got to wait for energy to replenish, and Cure sets up with another siege tank, and I think he's going to be able to hold on here. I mean, ByuN, he feels like he's got to get more damage down. He's coming in again.
The double targeting there, just absolutely beautiful there. And SCV's coming down to fight. A lot of them falling, and you can see he's really gaining a lot of value back from this attack.
Wow, that's working really well. Those Marines on low HP, and my goodness. ByuN somehow finally finding a way to equalize. That third Raven really coming in clutch with that second turret.
Absolutely. Picking off the siege tank with the 2 auto turrets, fantastically done. And now we have ByuN in the SCV lead. So he took that kind of ragtag army and made some damage across the map.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the kind of thing that ByuN, of all players, excels at. I mean, you give him a ragtag group of units, stuff that's hard to micro, stuff that's not intuitive, how you're going to play it, and he's the best in the world at figuring out exactly what to do and how to take those fights and get that damage.
This guy was born at the wrong time. He was meant to be a MOBA player for sure, man. He was too old. He was already too good at StarCraft at that time when those games really picked up.
His APM is too high for MOBA, though, let's be real. ByuN's the kind of player that would be trying to micro on every single lane.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, he's not done yet either. These Ravens, they're getting more energy, and it's 2 more turrets going down. They do bonus damage versus armored, and those siege tanks getting knocked immediately.
Oof. Yeah, these Vikings doing a fantastic job. I'm going to go ahead and land here as well. Not doing as well on the landing, honestly. So it is a hold once again. We're within 4 workers of each other. The army supply of ByuN is only slightly higher, but he still has these Ravens, which are providing a lot of value.
Yeah, the Ravens right now, I mean, oftentimes if they're sitting at home, they're replenishing energy. They're not getting a lot of value out of them, but when they're active like this on the map, when you have air control, it's pretty nuts.
I gotta say, I'm not sure about the continued push here. I feel like the best play for ByuN is to pull back, reinforce, and then decide what to do. Because, like, at this, well, okay, we see another siege tank go down, so that's something, but
I think with air superiority, it allows him to do this, because his siege tanks can effectively use all of their range, whereas Mercuri's got to put down a scan or send something forward, but he's going to try and break out here. Kind of a desperation move again as 10 more SCVs go down. He is going to get the siege tanks, but now suddenly the worker advantage swings heavily in ByuN's favor.
Yes, it does. But now we have these Stim Marines out, right? We have some medevacs. We have Cure kind of in a position where playing against so few units, he can move out. We also have 4 eBays on the way, by the way. Okay, 2 got canceled. Okay. That was hilarious.
My goodness, yeah.
Like, damn, ByuN, what are we doing with all the eBays, man? Do we need building armor? Like, what? But, look, this is what I'm afraid of for ByuN. Yeah, he got some more SCVs, but I think he already did critical damage with his 3rd being built on location. And if he saves his mana, if he saves a few extra siege tanks, this attack that was always going to come is not going to be as scary. But right now, I think it is scary.
Yeah, having air superiority and losing Liberators really hurts too, because they're such a good counter to siege tanks in those situations. But yeah, maybe a little bit ambitious with this 3rd CC on the low ground. Gonna have to pull that back off, and honestly, I feel like it should have been there for the beginning. I mean, step in orbital command, get some more mules mining on top of those SCVs, play it safe with your eco lead.
Cure sets up here, and he will do a contain. This is kind of a light contain because, again, he doesn't have that air superiority we've been talking about here from ByuN. So ByuN has that, which is funny because, yeah, kind of like you said, he normally is not the guy with that. He's more the medevac guy.
Yeah, it's more of a rural versatile here.
Yeah. Well, I think it has to be in this type of situation. ByuN had to counter push with such a technical army, so continued to rally in technicality, whereas Cure had to try to bust out, right? And that's where it's going to lead us to more Marines.
Yeah, and until ByuN gets those combat shield and stim upgrades out, I feel like it's really tough for him to secure that 3rd base. I mean, this Liberator going down too. That's a lot of production time on the medevac or on the starport, and those are not cheap units. And if you're trying to retain air superiority, losing Liberators free like that is a pretty good way of giving your opponent a chance to get back into it.
Yeah. And I mean, the harassment would be awesome if you could get him into position because we don't have Vikings for Cure. So I like the idea, but they're kind of flying around willy-nilly in the middle of the map. So.
Yeah, but I mean, credit to Cure too. I mean, he did a great job of like being in position to take those down.
Right, finally ByuN going to re-land this now, and look at how even the game has actually become after all of these crazy scuffles.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive when things happen like this, where it's like, yeah, after all that, they were even, guys. I'm like, really? They were even? Is that the story you're trying to tell? No, they were even.
That is pretty nuts. I mean, the worker counts are dead even, and supplies off by what, 4 now in either direction based on like the production timings. That's pretty crazy. I think the upgrade advantage, it's going to Cure right now, right? He's getting 2-2 up. He's getting +1 vehicle weapons.
Yeah, I think his production is slightly better too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure the exact number of structures, but yeah, I think he has slightly better production. So I could see him starting to boom up a bit quicker. Yeah, his army supply is starting to run away just a little bit.
Yeah.
But the more technicality still goes to ByuN. He still has that air control. The thing is, it's not his style as much. So is he going to be able to play the more positional game against a slightly more mobile Cure?
Yeah. Typically in ByuN, when he's playing TBT, it's all about the Marines and the siege tanks. It's all about setting up these huge concaves, these flanks. little funny skirmish going on here.
I love metas like that.
Yeah.
God, it's so
Oh
funny.
my goodness, that was an insane armor reduction shot. This is what ByuN does best. This is why he's so good with his Marines. I mean, that is such a great pickoff. I think he got 1 or 2 tanks there and a bunch of Marines, and
that was huge, truly. Now Cure like actually falling quite far behind on supply there.
Yeah. I mean, this is what ByuN does best, is control the map and take these fights. And he's getting another shot off with Raven.
Oh boy.
Those Marines are going to melt, I think.
Yes. Well, with this many siege tanks, especially, disable the other siege tanks as well. Down go the Vikings to just pound through those tanks. And yeah, I think ByuN is now just going to be able to take this game.
The power swings in just this one map have been so phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, one player's just gotten an advantage of every turn and just swung it around so much. And now ByuN, I mean, even this drop in the main base, I don't think Cure has the resources to deal with that. He's losing his third base right now. That was such a great takeoff from ByuN.
ByuN now putting a drop down while he continues to push in. Cure does have that 4th base location to the north, but it looks like he's going to lose his orbital. He's losing all of his SCVs.
There's no way
I think
to
we're
contest
see
this.
Yeah, he has to GG.
Man. Catching those units on the map.
I think a great job here from ByuN to take those little opportunities and do so much with them. But you're definitely right, like Cure's army on the side there, when he lost like 25% of his army from that armor shred and the stim forward from ByuN. And it's like, oh god, that's really painful.
And shredding the armor with such a high Marine count too is just like, it's wild the way the armor reduction works in StarCraft. That is so huge.
Yeah, it makes all the difference in the world. Now, Cure trying to get some countering going on, but too many units for ByuN. Flies right in that sensor tower as well.
Finally, he finds out about the 4th base, which is now the 3rd, and I don't think the Planetary Fortress is going to be too much. He probably does not have high-sec auto-tracking to shoot those Marines.
Probably not. He's not the guy who made 4 eBays, so... All right, the siege line, it's all too much at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, Cure is trying to pull something together right now. He's still producing a decent amount of Marines and everything.
It's like trying to pull water from a stone. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
This final desperation move to try to break this. But that is too much.
Chi-Chi.
What an interesting game number 2.
It was.
I mean, both of these games, I feel like, have not been what I expected going into the series.
No, it really hasn't. Like, ByuN is playing with a different tool set in a lot of these. There's so much back and forth with the attacks, and definitely some out-of-position plays and everything, too.
Yeah.
I think that Cure still has a small chance to win this series. Like, it feels like he played better that game than the previous game.
It's interesting because of the errors that he's making.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel that there's something fundamentally wrong with his approach to the game right now. You know, I mean, like the way that he's macroing up his build orders, the way he handled the early defense in game number 1, all of that seemed really good. But then, like in over 1, he just made a big overcommitment. And he got shredded, and the advantage went away.
Yep. All right, on to set 3, Berlingrad. Let's go.
Start. Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Cure. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
All right. I mean, I'm pretty interested to see. The openings have definitely been different.
Yeah.
I love seeing the audience back, by the way. Cheers, guys. Thank you for coming down.
It is really nice to have an audience in esports again.
I think we didn't announce this one quickly enough. There's like a few empty seats down there, which normally does not happen.
Yeah.
But
especially on a day like today when you like 4 best-of-5s with like some of the best players in the world.
High value for your $5, man.
Yeah, $5. This is the ticket you want right here. I am hurting a little bit for Cure though. I mean, that opening that he did last game too was just incredible. Like the Reapers going into the main base with the medevac and the Hellions, like he got so much damage done. I really feel like he's not, the match score does not represent the difference in skill coming into this match. Like I don't think Cure is getting overwhelmingly outplayed.
Yeah.
I feel like game 1, just a small overcommitment.
Yeah.
Game 2, he got caught off guard. And I mean, that's kind of the way it goes, especially in TVT. He's really got to pull it together.
Yeah, certainly. Like, I mean, if you just blunder a set of units like we saw there, that's what happens. I mean, he's got the killer instinct, ByuN does, and just moves in and finishes him off. Now, here, ByuN kind of hiding his buildings.
Yeah, kind of like a MacARack Sand Factory right here.
A Mac-a-fact.
Mac-a-fact. Don't hear that one very often.
No, first time ever, perhaps. But
yeah, I wonder what the I wonder exactly what that is meant to accomplish, because at least to me, it's not obvious.
I guess if you get SCV scouted or something, then your opponent might overreact to something being outside his base. You know, maybe that slows him down.
Yeah, especially, I mean, like, usually what we see players do in a best-of-5, if you're up 2-0, is that's when you might pull out the cheese. Because, I mean, like, if it's a coin flip kind of thing and it turns out that it doesn't go in your favor, I mean, you still only have to win 1 map to their 2.
Yeah,
so
2 more tries for that. So
yeah, I think you're probably right with that one, as we see both players kind of mirroring each other, going into Hellions and Reapers, just standard CVT stuff right here, and not quite going to get that SCV.
Yeah, good pop down the ramp. I like that he went onto the ramp to sit anyways as well.
Yeah,
just a smart move.
What animal was that in the middle of the map? I don't think I've seen that one before. Like a tiger almost.
I'll keep my eyes peeled for it. I was being a fool and watching the StarCraft 2 units. But
always fun getting maps like Berlingrad in the rotation.
No, it's keeping it fresh for sure.
Yeah, ooh, 2 Reapers going down right here as they're just going to trade evenly. A little bit scary there for ByuN, but these are...
Yeah, loses that extra Reaper. Definitely a bit painful.
Yeah. I mean, Reaper Hellion is one of those army compositions that things can snowball in an engagement pretty quick, and ByuN even stopping there for a minute.
Yeah, he was trying to catch him with a grenade there for some extra shots.
Yeah, this Cyclone coming out is going to save the day a little bit, but I think Kier's a little happy to trade these units for SUVs. And the Reapers are one of those units that kind of rapidly lose value as the game progresses, and
that's for sure.
Getting 2 SCVs early, I mean, that's not too much to be laughed at, especially in a pretty much mirrored builds like this.
Of course, Cyclone's popping out on both sides. The Raven's starting to be made. Still pretty mirrored overall. We do have that second Rax going up for ByuN right now. See if Kira is going to follow suit.
Yeah. Always interesting to see the point where these players' strategies kind of like diverge, you know?
Well, especially when it's like a very close mirror, to see like what someone's plan is. Like the second barracks, is he planning on applying some pressure here?
Yeah.
Because it looks to me like Kier might be going for a 3rd command center pretty quickly here.
Right.
Yeah, like, there it is. So he is going for that 3rd command. Now, will the second barracks make the difference? We'll see.
Cyclones for ByuN, get the lockdown for the Cyclones. Cure, and he's going to be able to snipe it.
Yeah,
but
loses his own, though.
Yeah, that was a really smart plan, though. I mean, forcing the lock on with those Hellions in the front and then coming in with your Cyclone on Cyclone action, I mean, that could have been a really good trade. I like the concept.
Yeah, the concept was cool, but how about this concept for you? The second barracks as opposed to the 3rd CC. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that Kier just like gets the advantage here. I don't think a few extra Marines pre-stim are going to make any difference here for ByuN as far as keeping pressure on?
I think the second barracks is for the stim. I think he's got a tech lab on it. So I think he's trying to find some timing. Maybe he knows that Kira's going for this third.
Yeah.
And maybe he's thinking if I get exceptionally faster stim than you are expecting.
In the mid-game, he's going to try to find the damage with that.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if he moved across the map with like a Raven and 2 siege tanks.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 and a bunch of stim marines. And just tries to completely dive on him right as he's setting up that third base.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. I'm trying to think, is he going to be able to actually get that damage done?
Yeah,
because if you're
he needs to.
But if you're nonstop on siege tank Viking production after you already have your Ravens out, it's so difficult in that early mid game to really get the damage, you know?
Yeah, you pretty much have to catch them moving down from the natural to third base when the tanks are unsieged. But instead, actually, it looks like it's going to be a double stim marine drop.
All right.
I really like this. This can actually prove really devastating. I don't think, I mean, Kira's just making Ravens. He doesn't have medevacs.
Look at the angle he's coming. I think he's going to, is he going to boost? Okay, he is going to boost the main. I was wondering if he was going to try like to just carpet bomb the tanks or something, but here he goes into the main base, drops them out, but in come the Ravens. Auto turret's going down. He's focusing on some of these medevacs. One of them falls.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing the damage that he needs with this.
Yeah.
For how late his third is. Like, his third CC is just a wrap done.
Is this what it was to set? Is he setting up for this? I mean, this is the one thing that he gets. The Ravens, they spent all of their energy up there on top. But two more turrets go down here, and yeah, this is not working out.
No. It's really not. Like, he has a few units left over. But Kira has a huge army advantage. He has an SCV advantage. Yeah, he's going to come down, clear this out. You see him without stim kill everything that ByuN has there.
Yeah, and ByuN's third CC is just now finishing too.
Yeah.
Not even on the low ground, not even an orbital. Yeah, that just didn't work out. I mean, for a second there, I was thinking what you were thinking, that maybe he was trying to determine the position of Kira's army and then do something crazy like drop 16 Marines to the side of the third base and then stim in.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know, like the double drop, the thing is, this is the beauty of the defensive advantage in Terran versus Terran. Some people call it the boredom of it, but I call it the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, the Ravens just fly right in. There's like one tank in the main that slows it, then in come auto turrets and Vikings, and the main is shut down, and then you just kind of clean up what's at the front. And suddenly we're in a position here where ByuN definitely falling really far behind. He's down in workers by 5 right now, but that's because Kira's not maybe consistently going for them, but also down like 20 army supply.
Yeah, the army supply is really big because, I mean, kind of like if you play like Protoss versus Zerg or Zerg versus Terran and you lose a chunk of your army, sometimes you can find some way of salvaging the situation just because you have different units than them.
Yeah.
Your units have different strengths. But in a mirror matchup with mostly siege tanks and Marines,
when you're making the same stuff as your opponent, but you have less,
it's bad.
That's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. I mean, credit to ByuN, though, still having the cojones to, like, come back on the map after losing all of those units, you know? I mean, he's got to find something.
He does have to do that. He is up in upgrades for a second, but that's going away right now.
Yeah. I feel like as far as upgrade timings go, I mean, I'm really not seeing any advantage, and he's got to find some way.
ByuN needs Kira to mess something up here. Right, like I like that ByuN is taking 4th command center on location. I think that's a really good move.
Yeah,
he is adding the 2nd factory. That's obviously you want 2 factory siege tanks at this point. That's going to be very important. So he's ahead on the 2nd factory and the 4th CC. So those are, and I think that that's kind of a function of the fact that he is behind. That he's like, okay, we're just, you know, we have to do something, right?
You have to do something different than your opponent. Yeah, I mean, you can't match their play style.
Yeah.
You gotta mix it up somehow.
So maybe he catches up in siege tanks a little bit that way, and catches up in economy a little bit that way as well.
Yeah, and that makes me think that the function of these Marines and medevacs on the map is not to do any damage, but to posture in a way that makes Kira kind of want to play on the back foot, kind of stay back at home until that 2nd factory and that 4th base can kick in.
Yeah, you're kind of like multitasking a little bit to buy time. Like, you can't be counting on these to do damage, but rather to maybe make your opponent turn around, maybe make them play slightly more defensively.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you keep, here's the thing. This is a cool thing about StarCraft is it's 200 supply cap. So like, if you stall them out, like right now, Kira's maxed. But if these Marines stall them out a little bit, then ByuN will be maxed, and suddenly it's a lot closer.
Yeah, suddenly it's just the banks. And I mean, the bank is way less significant than how efficient the trade is. And now that Kira's maxed, he knows this is his time to move across the map. And nice little dodge there on the Raven shots.
Yeah, the split there of the 2 Marines, beautifully done.
Yeah, that was really well done.
And you see ByuN is, like, look at this. Kira scanned and then went towards that little group of Marines on the left. And look, ByuN is almost maxed now. So those little groups of Marines truly did their job.
Yeah, they kept him in his base. I mean, even now, oh, here we go, one more engagement. It looks like ByuN actually does have more Marines in this fight somehow. Yeah, there you go, the group from Kira coming in, he's gonna push this back, but with all those siege tanks, I don't think he can secure quite the kill. But again, a pretty favorable trade there for Kira, and he's gonna be able to remax earlier as well. And oh no, that's a painful pathing. I mean, this is what happens when you get maps rotating into the pool. You're not too familiar with how your units are gonna wanna find their destination.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to get used to, like, if my army's down here and I'm clicking here, where are they gonna walk, right?
Yeah. We've seen a lot of games end that way. I'm getting flashbacks to partying, playing against some Zerg player and moving all of his Colossus across the map in a really fortunate spot. But as it is now, I mean, the supplies are equalizing a bit. Kira, again, with the bank, but that doesn't matter when you're maxed. I mean, one big fight for ByuN. Can swing this around, and this is a really, really good move, getting the siege position here. Kira's gonna react to this, and oh my goodness, the tanks are unsieged. But yeah, never mind.
Yeah, no, that was too many tanks. Those Marines had no shot. These medevacs looks like they will be pushed back very easily. I mean, I like the ideas that we're going with here, but this Marine counterattack from Kira.
That's going to be devastating. I don't think ByuN has the reinforcements to deal with this. I mean, his bank is depleted. He's got not too many units back at home, and he's not going to find any damage there with a defensive spot from Kira. And Kira right now just going to town, even catching all these rallied Marines.
Yeah, there's a few siege tanks up here on the ledge, so maybe he won't lose his main right now technically, but he's definitely in some trouble. A big drop there from ByuN into the main base, but I don't think it's going to do as much as these Marines are. Yeah, they even got the natural expansion right there. I mean, both players just kind of slugging each other down, but I think Kira's going to be coming up with a better deal here. I mean, whole positioning in the siege tanks is not ideal, but there's so much going on the map. And I mean, he's walking away with 4 full mining bases to what, ByuN's 2? Yeah. And one's a main that's half mined out. I mean, Kira really bringing it back this map. Yeah, definitely looking very, very strong here against ByuN. And like, ByuN doesn't really, like, I think he did some things really well this game, like those groups of Marines we were talking about a lot. That was kind of a beautiful thing to see, where he bought himself time for his max with the quicker 4th and the quicker 2nd factory, but now he's in this terrible position once again. Yeah, those siege tanks are gonna get some big shots off as well, and even the siege tanks getting caught by the Marines. Yeah, ByuN's just in a death spiral right now, trying to find some damage, but yeah, I mean, maybe he can like kill this base. That building cannot lift off, as opposed to the orbital from a couple games ago. You can't load that into command centers anymore, unfortunately, but that was a fun day of StarCraft. That was an amazing day. Liberator's coming in to help push this back. And, I mean, eventually the Liberators will push back. Oh, it looks like he just loses it. So, I mean, that's a nice move from ByuN, but you can see the big difference in their supplies right now. Yeah. His army is so much smaller. He's trying to scrape something together, lands an orbital here at his regular 3rd base. I mean, that's going to be mining twice as efficiently as if it was in the main, but as it stands right now, he's still... It's a battle. It's an uphill climb right now for ByuN. I mean, even this group of Marines is... I don't think there's an answer for it. GG. And Kira gets his name on the board at least. I felt like it was inevitable. I mean, the way those first 2 maps went, I mean, getting caught out of position in match number 2, overextending in match number 1, those are really unfortunate ways to lose games. Yeah. Yeah. But I liked his play here. Yeah.
I feel like this is the kind of play that we would have seen from him in map number 1 and number 2 if it wasn't for those kind of unfortunate errors.
Yeah. I think a lot of this game, though, also comes back to ByuN being... Well, this is a tricky thing, because when you're up at the top of the world like these guys, you do have to play your own style, and you do have to have confidence in it, or you will literally never win. Now, both these guys are champions, so they have those things. But at the same time, it's very easy to look at that game and say, okay, you're opening the same way, but one of you is adding a second racks and one of you is adding a command center.
Right.
And that second racks, like as soon as you add the second racks, you're giving up air power, right? Because you're making medevacs instead of Vikings. And you're giving up a whole bunch of economy. And that's where ByuN really got far behind. Now, he kind of fought back, but you're still behind. Even if you do hit that max supply, you have the wrong unit set. You're flying around with medevacs. They have Vikings, right? They can start adding in the Liberators. It gets messy. It gets very difficult. And to have that confidence that was going to work when it's like you're behind there.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the times when you do kind of make that, I mean, these mirror matchups, they usually go parallel for a very long time. I mean, TVT especially, out of all of the mirrors. And so whenever you do make that kind of sacrifice early, like cutting third CC for the second barracks, like you said, you have to find substantial damage.
Yeah.
And Kier was just completely on top of his defense. And from there, I mean, like, what are you going to do? But in a best of 5, that's, in my opinion, a really smart play from ByuN. I mean, like, if you do that, it's not like a proxy 2x and a TVZ. There's a little bit more of a fallback if you can't get all the damage done.
Sure.
But
yeah, and if you do catch them at all with that, and they're like, wait, aren't you supposed to be making a third CC? Then yeah, that definitely can pay off. But didn't this time, unfortunately for ByuN. We'll see if he continues the more aggressive tendencies. He has a couple more tries to knock him out.
Yeah, 2 more to Kier's 1. I mean, ball right now is in ByuN's court in terms of what kind of risk he wants to take.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be kind of tough for Kier. I mean, at least from my perspective, if I was approaching this as a best of 5, I'm looking to survive and go to match point. You know, like I'm not gonna aim to take like any kind of big risks early, especially against a player like ByuN who's naturally aggressive himself.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna try and play it
out
safe.
microed in the heat of the moment. He might have a weird unit set that you're not used to.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Something actually, honestly, very similar to what we saw last game from him. That type of build where you're getting your Ravens out, you're just kind of consistently producing. I think that those are kind of the safe ones to do in TVT, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean, the benefit of those Ravens, I mean, for a moment I was scared because there were no medevacs. We'll go into that in a second. Going into map number 4 now. ByuN leading 2-1.
Game starts. Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Cure. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
One of the new maps in Hardwire here. Yeah, let's see how they end up approaching this. A gas first for Cure. Looks like it's going to be a Rax first here for ByuN.
I'm more interested in seeing what ByuN pulls out right now because it wouldn't surprise me if he tried to go for something quirky and aggressive just like he did last game. You know? I mean, like, not only does that play into his natural strengths as a player, he is one of the best controlling Terrans in the world. I think like him and Maru probably would be top 2 for me, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
And being up 2-1, especially against the reigning GSL champion.
Well, ByuN, you know, he's a GSL champ. He's a world champ.
Yeah.
Definitely, he's got that within him. I'm glad that he's actually doing well here because he's been up and down in his TVTs lately. Like some of these matches he's had, like against Percival and stuff. It's just been kind of, I don't know. It feels like he just. Okay, if you look at like, right, we had the 4 Horsemen of Terran for a really long time: Innovation, TY, ByuN, Maru, and like. All of them have their different strengths and everything, but ByuN was always the weakest TVT, which, you know, I feel like that's always kind of held him back. But I feel like he's playing pretty well against Kier, who is definitely one of these new top-tier guys, right? Like, Kier and Bunny really high up on the Terran tier list right now.
Yeah. I mean, he's showing it with that last one in GSL, but going back to what you said with the strengths in TVT, I feel like that might be a function of ByuN's intrinsic strengths as a player because when you play those kind of aggressive styles, it's really tough to get stuff done, especially with the power of the Raven. I mean, like, the way that Kure navigated his build in the early game, going 3 Raven, taking that 3rd CC, the point that I was trying to get into earlier was that I was afraid for him because ByuN went for this huge drop in the main base with Stim Marines way earlier than you would typically get in a TVT.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as if Kure could, like, pick up all his units from the 3rd with Medivacs and bring them up, but those Ravens with all that energy, he doesn't need to. The turrets buy enough time. They focused on the Medivacs, so you can't even escape for ByuN. And suddenly just the ball's in your court. So for ByuN kind of playing TVT, it is... He seems like the player that would be most inconsistent strictly based on his aggressive tendencies as a player.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. Especially because Terran versus Terran has kind of like the biggest defender's advantage, right? With the siege tanks and everything. It's just, it can be so hard to get in and so turtly, and you know, these lines of siege tanks that are hard to break, especially for someone aggressive like him. I actually wonder, now that you mention that, like what TVT would look like if we just removed the Raven from the game. How different would it be? Because in a lot of ways, like you see the way that Kure played that game, like if you're playing that kind of defensive play, your opponent's coming into you. Yeah. And we saw that in what, game 1 as well, where it's like, yeah, the Ravens just won this battle. He has 3 Ravens against 2 auto turrets, bam, done. But yeah, it's almost like the Raven in this matchup is like the Mothership Core was for Protoss.
That is a really good comparison. Yeah, because if it's not for those Ravens, I don't know what unit composition you try to go for to take a 3rd CC that fast and not die to that drop.
Yeah, no, it would be really difficult because that drop, if you're at your 3rd and that drop comes down, you don't have Ravens.
Yeah, you're gone.
That's tough.
And on top of that, I mean, the way that ByuN was set up, he landed at what could have been the 4th base, and he made a judgment call that he was going to go into the main instead of the 3rd, but both of those were viable options.
Yeah.
And if you're Kure and you're trying, even if you know that it's coming, and you decide to split your army between those 2 locations, one of them is going to get wiped.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like, if he brings his full force to bear, totally, yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know. That's interesting.
I wonder about that, yeah.
Huh. I think that might be one of the reasons why we see Kure making so many Ravens in this matchup against ByuN.
They're just so good in TVT, man.
Yeah.
They are.
Especially against a player with an aggressive style like ByuN.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they just give you so much versatility. If you're caught out of position, as long as the Ravens are just in the general area, I mean, the damage is going to be limited somehow.
Yeah.
Because those turrets, they pack a punch.
Yeah, even the disable can be so useful on tanks. It's kind of crazy. Just the versatility of that unit in the early game.
I'm just glad we don't have Hunter Seeker missiles anymore.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I remember like the early 2010s, late game Terran armies with just Seeker missiles going into everything.
Hundreds and hundreds cast every single game.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, units, spells that do damage are sometimes.
Yeah, they can be pretty crazy.
Yeah. Can really grind stuff out with those.
Yep, here we go. ByuN again, trying to find some kind of damage with Cyclone. A little bit reminiscent of the last game, but that is a pretty sizable army for Kure there on land. So he's just going to back off and go back Chrome. But besides that, not too much divergence between these 2 players' openings. This week we're going to get a scout in the main base and see that everything's pretty much normal.
This is actually very close to the last game.
Yeah.
When you look at it, right? Like we have that 3rd command center, we have the 2 barracks play, we have the medevacs getting ready, but Kure is being a little bit more aggressive this game, going ahead with his own marine drop into the main base, and ByuN doesn't have anything stationed up here.
Yeah, he's caught a little bit out of position. I mean, that's going to be... Oh, that Cyclone doesn't even get a lock on, so that's 6 SCVs pretty much for free for Kure. And
that's awesome.
Considering that Kure is the one going for 3 CC and ByuN is the one going 2 racks, that's pretty big.
Yeah, it really is, because it's going to exacerbate his lead later on. And here comes the 2 medevacs. Let's see what ByuN gets done with that. Now, right now, the 3rd CC is not even done. So he actually has more units sitting in a more central location.
And he also has that 3rd CC in his main base as well. He's even turning it into an orbital before dropping it down to the 3rd because he identified. And oh my goodness, I think he's going to get the snipe on this 3rd too.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that.
Yep.
As long as he gets, there it is.
And that one Stim Marine's trying to save the day. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that you kind of hope to accomplish when you go for these aggressive builds is because you have more units and you're going to be the aggressor, hopefully you can get that 3rd CC on the low ground, but I mean, Kira's kind of doing the opposite right now. He has less units, but he's finding more value with them. These Hellions, this Reaper, the Cyclone coming in, doing a lot more damage, and
I love it.
Yeah.
Well,
this hurts extra.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't land his 3rd CC yet, this is awesome, because 9 more kills. And what units did he use?
Oh my goodness, he's going for a drop again, too.
He's being more aggressive and more greedy than ByuN.
Yeah, this is smart. I think he identified that with the 2 CC. Like,
oh
no, the lockdown, though. ByuN's coming in trying to break him.
Well, 2 more tanks coming. I think here might just barely hold with the 2 tanks on the high ground. Just barely.
Yeah, those are Stim Marines, but they do not yet have combat shields.
I think he's got to like pop out a Liberator here. This is going to be really gross to try to clean up. But the Marines are actually diving so deep here for ByuN.
Yeah,
not sure I'm a big fan of where they're standing right now, but they are cutting off some of the production.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of damage done still, though. I mean, they're barely out of range of the siege tanks. That one tank sieging a little bit too close, but as it is right now, I mean, ByuN, he's trying to find a way to equalize. His build was the aggressor's build, and he took too much economic damage early, but he is kind of getting a saving grace here.
Yeah, it's a bit messy, but Kira's going to try to bust out. He is making those 2 Liberators because, yeah, I mean, that's going to be the cleanest way to push out of a position like this. So I think that's a great move from him.
With air control, I mean, this is kind of the one way to push your opponent back. He's even going to get 2 siege tanks.
Beautiful.
Oh, and a medevac. And now these Marines are kind of... oh, that medevac was so close to going down.
But ends up saving it. Okay, so there's that. The amount of damage that ByuN did was reasonable there, I think, but still a 10 SCV lead here for Kira. He has his 3rd command center flying down right now. ByuN, what are we doing? He's added in Vikings, so he's going to try to take back some of the air control here. He doesn't have it quite yet, though.
Oh, these Marines coming in. I'm not sure about that play right there. Siege tank's getting most of them down. And, I mean, even the siege tank counts right now, they're pretty much equal. These Vikings have to get a lot of damage done, I think, and Kira's going to go back and repair those.
Oh, the siege is beautiful. Yeah, I was wondering about that, but yeah, just barely so since he had that air dominance. So gets an extra kill, gets a bunch of damage on that 2nd siege tank as well.
Yeah, I feel like ByuN, he's still trying to find some way to make this aggression happen, and Kira's just like, all right, you're going to soft contain me on that side, I'll go to the other one.
Oh, the Marines being dragged in here.
Yeah, I think he wants to get that 1 HP Viking, but just not quite connecting.
He definitely does want it. It's not happening though. Oh, sieges and gets that siege tank.
There's a lot of small finesse moves going down right now for ByuN, trying to eke any single damage he can get.
Yeah, and he actually has his 3rd command center mining now at that 3rd, so it looks like his counterplay has been enough.
Oh, this drop is doing a lot of damage too. Kira was not in position for this. I mean, auto turrets and siege tanks would be able to push this back, but 4 SCVs going down already.
He's losing quite a bit. Let's see what he ends up targeting down here. Gets a bunch of those SCVs, so ByuN takes a lead in that regard.
Oh, is he going to get another tank too? I think so.
It looks like we will get this cleared.
Yeah, that's actually going for Kira's favor right there.
Oh, ByuN in some trouble right now.
Yeah. Well, that Liberator, I wonder how much damage that got done. 14 kills? How much of that happened earlier, and how many? 13 SCVs went down?
Oh, that's crazy.
That's why the supplies are suddenly so different.
No, I was a little bit confused there because it felt like ByuN was doing such a good job for a bit, and now he's down suddenly 30 supply, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that Liberator, I mean, that just did work. I guess ByuN, he was too busy trying to attack on 2 fronts, and even this Liberator is going to get more shots down now, and that is 17 kills, 18 kills, 19, 20 before going down. Damn. That is a value Liberator right now.
Look at this stim forward. It looks like he doesn't quite have enough here as the siege comes up. Oh, just barely does, but another stim in here from Kira, trying to target down that very hurt siege tank, does end up getting it.
Yeah, but I mean, right now, Kira, not only does he have the supply lead, but he's also retaining air dominance, and I mean, this is always going to be a struggle for the aggressing player. If you're aggressing and you don't have air, you're expecting to have more land units to compensate for it, but being down in both of those facets, it's such an uphill climb.
Very difficult to pull up. Another Liberator. Okay, well, we're not taking any more Liberator damage this game, ByuN says. Defends that one very quickly. Might be time to just turn off the Liberators. Kira's actually making 2 more. I hope those are for the push, though.
I think they're for the push. I mean, like, he knows that he has air dominance, and right now, like, you look at the production tab, and ByuN, like, he doesn't even have the resources to contest it. He lost too many SCVs. He has to focus on the land and hope he gets one decisive battle going in his favor. And, I mean, like, the Liberators, they're a great mix-in when you have air superiority. They are fantastic at pushing siege tanks out of range.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a nightmare to try to deal with if you just don't have enough Vikings to push them back. So.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes what we'll see the Terran players do, if they are getting kind of pushed by those Liberators and they don't have air superiority, is they'll try to make a Cyclone block on the Liberators and pull it back. But, I mean, as it is right now, I think we're past that stage in the game where that can be effective.
I think you're right about that. A little bit too difficult to make that one work out. Sometimes you flood Vikings and they made too many Liberators, you can make it work like that. Or, you know, obviously it's a very slow-moving army at that point as well, because you have to be sieged up and then push forward.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can kind of outmaneuver, come back in that way.
It's more of a death ball. As
more,
opposed to Marine tank is a lot more flexible, where you can kind of like set up outposts on different fronts and try and catch your opponent out of position. But as it is right now, I mean, Kira, he is going to make that push. He has the army supply advantage by, I think, 20 or 30 right now, and his army composition is just straight up better. The one thing I think ByuN has going for him is I'm pretty sure he has more Marines. So if he can maybe connect with him out of position, he has a chance, but this is looking really dicey.
Right, he's pushing forward, taking this high ground here. This is quite the dance that's going on.
Yeah. I think ByuN knows that if he lets Kira siege close with that army, it's just going to inch forward and forward, and he won't be able to stop it.
Yeah, it's a great position he's kind of choosing here. It's a little bit in front of his siege tank so he can get back if need be.
Yeah.
But he's also threatening, if anything comes too far forward, to really try to bash it with those Marines before it gets ready.
Yeah.
But here we go. He sieges with the Liberators, gets a couple shots, barely saving the tank as he pulls it back.
Yeah, and he's going to unsiege more siege tanks and move barely in range. I mean, this is the advantage. This is how you push, and he's catching the Marines out of position here, and those siege tanks are unprotected. Oh, that is a really great move right there by Kira. He's going to get the 3rd command center down as well. ByuN's siege tank count is halved, and ByuN's like, okay, plan B.
Yeah, stim everything across the map. I don't know if that's going to end up working for him, but you really can't blame him for doing it. Kira unloading on these siege tanks, going to easily eliminate those.
But ByuN, I mean, he identifies this. He's like, okay, you're going to be out of position too. Maybe I can catch your siege tanks. And looks like Kira's going to lift most of those out. And actually, at the end of the day, I mean, the 3rd CC losing that, it's really painful, but the supply is surprisingly equal after those trades.
Yeah, but it's equal in very different ways.
Oh my goodness, this might be his one chance to get back into it if he can catch these, but it gets the one empty medevac.
He's got a ton more Marines, but very few siege tanks. If Kira just turtles for a minute, he's going to take this game.
Absolutely.
But if he is like going across the map, he's like, I gotta kill him. No, you don't. No, you actually don't. His economy is shot. He's on only Marines for the most part. Like, I think Kira just sitting back for a moment is probably the way to do it. But maybe he's got enough that he can just push anyways.
As long as he is ByuN kind of cornered in one position, he can take the fight, but I think you're right. The only way he's going to lose is with an overextension. But he's going for the kill. Kind of an awkward move back. I don't know why he's not just cleaning that up.
Ooh, the 2 tanks just in time there. That commands, like, this amount of Marines with +2 attack, you're going to kill an orbital in like 2 seconds if you don't have something there. So
yeah,
nice defensive play there from Kira. ByuN loads up, going to get out of here now.
3-3 about to finish for Kira as well. Everything's just kind of going his way right now. I don't know. ByuN has to find something. He has to catch Kira out of position somehow, and I think that he's going to do exactly what you said. Kira, I mean, he's pulling back. He's going to macro up, probably wait until max, and his army's not going to be beat at that point.
No, his army is so much higher quality. This is such a Marine-based army for ByuN. And I just don't, like, he's not going to find a way in. There's too many tanks.
Yeah, he's going for a fight right now. Kind of a desperation move, but that's just going to get cleaned up. And we're going to match point.
All right. This has actually been an excellent series, and it's like, I feel like it's a very informative series about playing different styles against each other as well.
Yeah.
A lot of fun so far. Cure now on a 2-win win streak. I'm favoring him going into map 5. Like, he's just playing such a rock hard style. Like going for the third command center a little bit quicker, kind of defending some of these moves. Now, it did get hairy there for a little bit. He was doing a lot of the harassment, getting ahead, but that left him with so few units that ByuN kind of half busted him and got counter damage and made it a game. But I think overall the concepts Cure was playing with are a little bit better than ByuN's.
And it feels like Cure is really good at walking that fine line in terms of exactly what is the bare minimum that I need at home to defend an attack that ByuN can do right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, that's the kind of skill that if you can walk that fine line against ByuN, you're going to find success because he is so good, typically, at just coming in and getting that damage. If you can shut it down and get damage on your own, you're going to be good. And here we go. We're going into match number 5.
Game start. Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Cure. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
It feels good to have an audience applauding these again.
Oh, isn't that so nice? 60 people, not bad.
Yeah.
Definitely enjoying the games here tonight. This is a great first series. And, you know, you mentioned that this is probably the best series in the first round.
Yeah, I don't think it's disappointed.
Well, no, it's a very good series. I think for today, it's definitely the series that I'd be surprised if another one is this close.
Yeah.
You know, because the other ones are kind of like, okay, we have like the best 2 Zergs and the best Protoss against 3 other guys.
Yeah.
Three of the guys that don't win GSL all the time.
And Cure and ByuN are 2 of the best players of their races. And I mean,
yeah.
Not only have they both found so much success recently, but kind of an interesting aspect of this series again is that since the last GSL, which was I think only 6 weeks ago, they have met in tournaments 8 times.
That's pretty wild.
And it's a lot of like online like ESL Open Cups. They've played in like TSL 8 qualifiers against each other. So I'm sure that there is some level of mind games going on that
for sure
us as outsiders can't even really identify. And maybe that even goes back into the kind of quirky openings and movements that we're seeing out of both of these players in these games, because I mean, typically from Cure playing against ByuN, I would expect him to kind of just go for the rock hard style that he typically does, but like, it seems like he's really starting to identify weaknesses in ByuN's play. I mean, like last game especially, he went for the greedier build and he was more successful with his aggression. In a mirror matchup, that's so rare.
It really is, but he was just kind of doing more than ByuN.
Yeah.
I think if he had dialed that back by like 10%, maybe the Siege Shanks don't force the lift off of the natural CC.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's game. Right? If you can hit that line, like I think that's what TY is perfect at. Like he is the amazing player at keeping exactly enough at home that you can't hurt him, and then also doing maximum harassment. Yeah. And like here, it feels like he's getting close, but you know, ByuN is finding some ways in, making it interesting.
Yeah. I wonder now what kind of play ByuN is going to go for in this last map, because he looked really strong in Game 1 and Game 2. And in Game 1 and Game 2, he did mostly get those wins off of kind of crazy situations. In Game 2, he caught Cure out in the middle of the map where he wasn't protected, and that was just checkmate, game over right then and there. But Game 1 was very scrappy. It was very back and forth, and ByuN it feels like he's one of those players that's king in chaos, much like Maru.
Yeah, yeah. Well, his games are always chaotic. Like, that's just what his style becomes because he is so aggressive. And it's like a funny thing. I remember at one point his TVP, it's like he was the best 22 SCV player in the world, man. Because he'd always be taking damage, microing his ass off with his units. And, you know, he's great with that tiny economy because it's always chaotic.
And I was really interested in seeing exactly how these builds were going to diverge, because I was wondering if ByuN was going to continue going for the second rack since it didn't work in Game 3 or Game 4, but actually it's Cure here, who instead of going for the fast third CC is going to be going into Cloak of Banshees.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting take right there. We haven't seen that at all in this series yet. you know, there are so many Ravens being made in general that, you know, the Banshee can have cloak or not. The Raven is there, but
yeah.
Look, in this particular game, this is going to do really well, I think, for Cure.
I think
he's
you're
playing
right.
against, like, this is a lot of Hellions. That is many more Hellions than you normally see.
Yeah, usually you see 2 or 4 with a lot more Reapers, but he's going to try and find something with 6. And there is a Widow Mine in the front.
Yeah, that'll be a little bit painful.
He should just pop one of the Hellions and then move in with the rest. And, ooh, nice little micro right there, but still gets picked off. And
bit greedy.
Yeah, these Hellions, I mean, they can do damage if they connect well, but that Cyclone's going to clean this up. Trading even, I mean, it's good, but not when there are Cloak Banshees on the field. This auto turret's probably going to get 1 or 2 SCVs and pull the rest back, but not too much.
Yeah,
more.
Not that much.
I'm really looking to see what these Banshees do now.
Okay, so he has 1 Banshee sitting top left, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, and there he goes towards the bottom right, so he might just be waiting to send them in at the same time to really tax some multitasking. But in general, 2000 Atmosphere is good for strats like this because of all the dead airspace behind.
Yeah.
So like if you don't get a Viking, you can't get rid of it. It just sits there.
I think he's going to 3-prong it. Maybe.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
I wouldn't. I'm looking at the mini-map, and I'm trying to see what his army is doing right now, and I think he's kind of surveying the area to make sure there's no attacks from ByuN, but it wouldn't surprise me if he tried to come in the middle while the Ravens, which we were talking about, are so critical to the early game defense, are busy kind of chasing down the Cloak Banshees.
Yeah, and the 3 Ravens just kind of sitting there all together on that one hotkey. Like when this, it does look like, I think he's going to bring it up. Okay, here come the Banshees.
Yeah.
Banshee's going to hit at almost exactly the same time. Okay, there's that first shot there, and the other one is in the mineral line of the main. His Ravens have to turn around and deal with this, so here comes the rest of Cure's units now.
Yeah, and Cure's going to try and take a position up there at the front. In the meantime, disable on the tank is Cure comes in. The Cyclone's connecting, doing a lot of damage. One of the Banshees does go down, but not after killing 10 SCVs. Yeah. Both the Banshees now dead, and I really like this idea from Cure, but I don't think it's going to be quite the killing blow.
Yeah, there's too much energy on these Ravens still.
Yeah, he sees it, and he's just going to back right off, and that is the right call. But 10 SCVs, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about that for those 2 Cloak Banshees?
Well, you got to consider as well that making the Cloaked Banshees, it's like you weren't making Ravens in that time. So it's 1 Raven against 3. So I think that gives ByuN more flexibility with what happens next here.
Yeah.
So I am a bit nervous, but it looks like Cure is going to just go really heavily into units now, right? You see him getting Stim, Siege Tanks, Marines, and making Vikings. So Vikings are one kind of soft way to try to deal with your opponent having more Ravens.
Right.
It's not the cleanest thing that you can do, but you can kind of zone them out. At the end of the day, I think it was good enough, especially with his follow-up here.
Yeah, and both players right now are also contesting air control. We see double Viking production from both of them, and I'm really curious what the counts are for both of these players. I see ByuN has 2 there. I think 2 more just
I think we have like
queue.
6 for Cure, right?
Yeah,
like he has,
I think you're
4
right.
now, 2 more about to be... Oh, no, he does have 6. It's 4 for ByuN.
Yeah,
nice
that's... When both players invest a lot in air control, if one of them can take it, it's pretty devastating. I think a lot of this game is going to hinge on who's going to be able to take that advantage.
Well, it's like not even a full 2 Viking advantage right now. For like right now it's 6-6. I believe he has more making, so like he's probably a half cycle up, but he's down 2 Ravens. So I think with the you have 2 additional Ravens. It's like, well, you can disable, you can throw auto turrets, you can
that's true.
Armor shred the Vikings. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen here.
But at the same time, with the production cycle so close, I mean, one of these guys at the end of the day is going to have the 2 more rallies from the starport in the defender's advantage.
Yeah.
So, still really, really close in that sense. And
and way more siege tanks right now for Cure.
Yeah.
So the Marines are not going to be an issue. He is better in tech in some ways here.
Wow, yeah, that's actually, I did not catch that. 7 tanks, the 2 of ByuN, and the Marine counts are even the same. And we do have a little bit of a skirmish right now as ByuN is going to be trying to take air control. It looks like he is quite successful. I mean, some of those Vikings going down. Now 5 for ByuN to the 4 of Cure.
being down 5 siege tanks though makes this it tough.
He got the Raven too. I didn't even notice. That's That's a good pickup right there. I mean, those are reactor Vikings, and I don't think you're going to lift off and switch to add-on. So
it'll be a while.
Yeah, that's pretty much dead.
I think Ravens don't get remade at this point until we're almost ready to go battle cruisers, right? Like max out half map type of situation.
And with ByuN playing, I don't think it's going to get to that point.
You're probably quite right about that.
The only chance would be like if we saw Kier like go proxy BC into mech or something. And this is game 5. We're not going to see any of that. And ByuN right now, I mean, he has the advantage in the air. He's pushing it. Those 2 more Vikings rallied right now. He should be backing off. And actually, that's a bad movement for those Vikings. Losing 2 more of them. Even Ravens are going to go down now. He gets to disable on the tanks, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to trade too well.
Yeah, and this is looking so good for Kier. He's just smashing through everything.
I don't feel like ByuN's army was significantly worse there, but
I think a lot of that comes to the siege tank count, right?
Yeah,
like
I don't think he couldn't. He can't fight an entrenched position there.
Yeah.
I mean, like even the Viking trade at the beginning, it wasn't bad. For a brief moment, it was favorable, but it kind of looked like he move commanded everything to get on that 3rd base, and then all those Vikings, they just ate shots.
They did. He didn't pull them far enough back to be protected from Marines.
Yeah.
And stuff.
That hurts.
Yeah, but he's trying to force something that can't quite be forced. It's just there's too many siege tanks. The units are right where you're trying to attack too. You know, it's different if you're going around the sides and trying to find a different way in.
Yeah.
But when you see the units and that's where you're pushing, you're just not likely to break it. Not at this level.
Right. That's a lot of siege tanks.
That is.
I think there might be more siege tanks for this army than Marines.
I think you're right. Yeah. Just about.
And Curie taking air control here. I mean, siege tanks are those units. If you have air control, I mean, they can shoot farther than they can see. This is maybe ByuN's one last chance to move in and try and snipe these down, but that is too many tanks. Those Marines just melt. GG.
The painful reverse sweep here. ByuN can't be too happy with that after starting 2-0. And had some close games in there still. But yeah, it just felt like Kier found his stride here and played more stable styles.
Yeah, Kier was pretty rock solid. I mean, even in game 1 and game 2, yes, he did lose early. And in game 1, there were a lot of misplays by both players. That was kind of a chaotic game. But pretty much any time the game went up to just straight play style, Kier came out on top.
Yeah.
If he wasn't caught out on the map out of position,
yeah,
the way that he navigated his unit composition and his movement was just straight up better.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead to that interview.
And the opening day, Kier defeats ByuN, and he moves on to the round of 8. Congratulations, Kier. Thank you. As a sincere congratulations. You lost the first and the second set, and you were down 2-0. But you managed to make a comeback and win the series. So how do you feel after the reverse sweep? Well, the opponent was very aggressive today, and I tried to play defensive. And I think I was too nervous. And I did make a lot of mistakes, and I thought that today would be a hard day. But I didn't want to lose. And after the second set, I tried to play comfortably, and that managed to give me the win. And it feels like Kier, you're getting used to the offline stage now. And as the audience says, it feels like you were a little nervous. You know, I really wanted to perform well even after my GSL win. And you know, recently I didn't have the results I wanted. And it feels like my performance has gone down a bit these days. That's right, Kier. You didn't perform so well in the online matches these days. And you actually prepare a lot of Raven strategies today. So what was the background? I actually prepared a lot of harass builds and the poke builds. And the build are working well with the Ravens. And the Banshee gained a lot of advantage. So was that luck or was that carefully oriented? So there are cases where the opponent goes for the double, or he goes for the proxy barracks. So I tried to use that to exploit it, but it did work really well. So today the fans had high expectations on you for your TVT match today. And the TVT match today, how do you rate it? No, I was too nervous today, but in the end I won. So I think maybe a 6 out of 10. So last season you were able to gain your first GSL win after your 10 years of career. But at the same time you say the recent momentum is not looking too good. And your next opponent will be either Trap or RagnaroK. And RagnaroK has performed really well last season, defeating the 3 top Protoss. So even if you play against RagnaroK this time, do you have the confidence to win? Well, I feel like the Protoss are easier to deal with than the Zergs. But at the same time, it's RagnaroK, so I think it's going to be quite troublesome. So I'm going to have to prepare really hard if he comes up. You know, other people are actually playing well against Zergs, but for me, I'm not dealing with Zergs really well. The Cure. A lot of the fans here got to witness your GSL win in the offline stage. So before you go, anything you want to say to them? So it's been quite a while since I last seen a live audience here at the venue. And I hope we get to have more fans here at the venue. Once again, congratulations, Cure. Thank you.
All right, so coming up next, we have Trap vs. RagnaroK. Don't go away. We'll be right back.